Hi there. Now today I thought we'd build an element called Penta Star. Now I thought we'd build one of the ACM versions. You can see that's an aluminium, a solid, not solid aluminium. It's got a PVC centre with aluminium either side. Very sturdy, quite strong, a lot stronger than the core flute. Now we do make the same unit in a core flute version, and obviously the core flute one you'll get slit down the centre, like is the case with all our elements. And for the sake of this tutorial, we'll build this one out of the ACM material. Now it comes in different colours. It comes in a white, it comes in a silver, also it comes in a yellow, if that's what you're looking for. We'll build the black one here today. Now this is the one, this Penta Star has an insert in the middle which lights up independently from the pixels that go around the face. There's a couple of our elements that are built like this. So we'll proceed and build it on the basis of the correct procedure. So the first thing you'll notice is that by the way, some of these ACM elements may have colour on the back. This one has a mill finish. Disregard all that marking, that's just a bit of oxidisation, but yours will be, you'll get yours like a clean finish, clean mill finish. And you can see this white one has colour on the back too, so just depends what you get. Now the first thing you'll do is we're going to put an insert in the centre of this star shape, which will light up independently from the pixels. So what you'll have is you'll be supplied this clear, well, it's not clear, well it's clear but it's got a white film on it, and this acts as a diffuser. Now you could put core flute in here if you wanted, but this is supplied with the kit. Now there's two sides, there's a matte finish and a gloss finish. Now we tend to use the matte finish because that then puts then the film that's applied to the acrylic goes to the inside of the element, so that protects it. You can swap it around if you want, but generally we tend to do it this way because then that protects the film, gives it a little bit of extra protection. Now the first thing you'll do is when this will be packed in one piece, obviously, because we can't fold this. So when you flip the face around, you'll find that there's a blue dot which is consistent with all our elements. That's just the reference point. There's a letter A on there. Now you'll find that there's a red star marked here. Now that is actually where the insert goes, roughly in there anyway. And what you'll find is these white bits here are actually a double-sided tape. So you just peel these off. Now this is only just to position the insert. What I tend to do is that once the insert is in its place, I run a little bit more glue around the edge of the actual acrylic just to keep it in position, because this tape isn't enough to hold it on. So the A obviously lines up with the A, so you can't put it the wrong way, it has to go A to A. So roughly position it in between the red lines there. Now before you press it down, just make sure that you haven't got any of the holes for the pixels covered. So you don't want to stick it. Well, you probably can't do that because it'll come off the edge. But nevertheless, make sure that you try and reasonably line it up evenly, making sure nothing gets in the way there. So just get yourself that you're happy with it. Press it down. Press it down, and then that's fixed in position there like that. One thing I did neglect to say is that when you get this face, it will have a PVC cover on it, so it won't look black. It'll have a covering on it, similar to, I haven't got anything to show you, but it's a PVC cover which is a protective cover. So you tend to leave that on until you've finished, and then you can just peel it off, and then you protect it. Because if you're sliding this around, you can actually, I mean, the coating is actually quite good. You can actually, you can actually slide it around without damaging it, but rather than have any chance of it scratching, just leave that coating on there till you're finished. So back to this. So you've pressed on the acrylic insert. You can see that it's given you that that finish there. It gives you that nice clean finish there for later use as a separate lighting element. And then what I do is I just give him a little bit of extra glue around the edges. Whoops, try not to get any on the face there like I did, which was very messy. So maybe come around this side. So that sort of thing. This hot glue can be a bit messy, so you should try and be a little bit careful with it. So you can see there, that's just giving it a little bit of extra glue there. Now if you're real careful, you can actually run a bit of glue in between the areas where I haven't put any tape, or even on top of the tape if you like, if you feel that you need that extra glue. I certainly wouldn't run any around the edge. You can if you like, but that's just a bit messy. But if you want, you can run it all the way around. So there is your first step. That's the insert that's been applied to the centre of the star, the Penta Star. Okay. Now the next step is, if you've seen our other videos, it's pretty. Most of our elements are made the same way. So the next step is doing the sides, the F sides. So you'll get the F sides in a packet, and they'll be pre-slitted, as is all our parts to our kits. So you can see what's happening there. We're bending it around to form the shape of the star, the first point. So again, you can either do one at a time, stick it down, and then come around to the other side and stick the other side down. I prefer to do two at a time with my hot glue gun. So we'll run a bit of glue along that edge there and along the second edge. So that's now what you'll find is that this does stick very well to the aluminium. So try to get the thing lined up reasonably well before you stick it down, so that you don't have any problems later. Now if you do find that you've stuck it, you're not happy with where it's positioned, you can take it off, and it's not impossible to get off. In fact, it's a lot easier to get off the aluminium than it is off the core flute itself, so sticking core flute to core flute. But you see, it does stick actually quite well, quite quickly. So, now again, with all our kits, you'll probably find that you'll have, you can see there that it's a bit longer than what you need, so you'll need to trim that off to do the second one. Probably pre-fit it first, so I would take a bit off there, like that. And then check your second one, see where it's going to go. I'll probably take a little bit off that one. So I tend to take a bit off at a time to make sure I'm happy with it. So you're really only doing one side first, because the second side will be done as the next one meets up, if you know what I mean. Like you'll put one on, and then you'll do the second. So you're trimming one side, sticking it on, then trimming the other side, sticking it on, and so forth. So you're trying to only trim one side at a time. Now once you're happy with it, and you think you've got enough trimmed off, so you can see I'm only doing a little bit at a time there. I don't really want to cut off too much in the case that I trim off too much. Once you've done a few, I guess you'd probably be confident in knowing exactly how much you need to trim off. So you can see I've trimmed off that one there. So that one's going to be the right size, and this one will probably be too long, this edge here. So I'll do that after I've done the sticking down. So I won't stick right to the edge there because I want to trim that bit off. And I'll just apply the glue here. So again, we're line him up there like that, and get him in their position. So you can see there, it's looking okay. So there you go. So it sticks pretty well. It sticks quite quickly to the aluminium, a lot quicker than what it does to the the core flute. So you can see what I've done there. You can see I've built, there's the two sides built there already, looking quite neat. Now, you can see the process. You're just basically going around sticking on all the the edges as you go. So again, like I said, that's the one you trimmed. You come back around and you're going to trim off a bit here, line up the next one, and so forth and so forth. So what I'll do is I'll go along and stick all those on first, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. Okay, we're back. So I've done all that. I've built the 5 sides. You can see the 5 sides are done there. See that's built there. Now the next thing you need to do, because it's still a bit weakish, is we want to put the ribs in, the F ribs into the corners here. Now one thing I might add before I go too much further is that these elements that are made out of the ACM that you're gluing to the aluminium, they need just a little bit longer to go off and for the glue to harden than would normally be than if you were gluing to a core flute one. So just be aware that when you're handling it, you may dislodge some of the edges until you've really built the thing up completely. So if you do that, well, you're just going to have to re-glue it. It's not a great drama, but just be aware that it does take a little bit longer for the glue to set on this aluminium surface. So the next step is the F ribs, which go into the corners here that hold the F sides onto the face. Now you'll get a length which will have a slit down the centre, which you just break and snap. Now you can see obviously where it's going to go. It's going to go into that corner there and glue down into the side there. Now what we want to do, the way I do these is I grab the rib and I hold it, however you want to hold it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run some glue in the corner first of the element, and then I'm going to run some glue along the edge, either side of the rib. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip them inside and then put them in position. So what that does is it'll give me some glue along the bottom and it'll give me some glue along the side. So I'm gluing it twice. So I'll just show you what I mean by doing that. I'll just start at the point here. Now you don't have to run it all the way, but so I'm going to run some glue into the corners there like that, and then I'm going to run some glue along here and on the other side. You've got it in your fingers like that. Slip them into the corner first, open them up, stick them down. Now you can see I've tacked him in there like that. Make sure he goes in all the way. Now don't be concerned if part of that goes over the hole. That's not a huge problem for the pixel, I mean. You'll still be able to slip that through. That's not a great drama. It's a tight fit, but it fits well. So it's made probably too much. We could have fattened it up a bit, but then it fattened up the thickness of the actual. It fattened that up too much, and it just didn't look quite right. So we've gone to the absolute minimum. So I'll do another one of those. So again, you get your F rib, hold them in there like that, and run your glue. Just do that so you can see it. So run some glue into the corner there, and into the corner there, and then along here, and like that. Now, so I'll just slip him in there like that and open him up. Now, to be honest, if you're not comfortable doing that and you want to cut these in half, you can do that. I mean, you can actually cut that in half and then stick one in at a time, stick one in that way and stick one in that way. The fact that it's folded together is just a convenience thing. It doesn't really make the actual the thing any stronger. It's just convenience for the sake of what it is. So there are some models that these are actually made as separate pieces and you just stick them in individually, but insofar as what you want to do, you can change that however you want. So just run these in here. Again, hold this guy up. In fact, I might just cut one for you and show you what I mean. I'll do the next one like that. So I'll tuck him in like that. And tuck him in there like that. Just make sure that when you are sticking these guys in, that they don't stick out too far. If there's, look, in the end, if you've got something that sticks out, if you've glued this thing in too far and it's not quite on the edge, obviously, as in the side, if it's glued in just a fraction too far, when you stick this rib on, it might have this going over the edge of the exit hole. I guess really all you've got to do is grab a nozzle here. Is just, I suppose, just check to make sure that, you know, it fits in. Now, if you can get it in, that's not a problem. In fact, it does help by having this give it a little bit, you know, give it a little bit of pushing along the edge, and it's strengthening it up a little bit better. So what I was saying was, insofar as these are concerned, if you wanted to, you can just cut them. If you prefer to do that, you can just cut them and do one at a time. Alright, put that thing in there, and just do one edge at a time. And just stick them in like that. Now what you'll have to do is, by doing that, you'll actually be able to get it further in. One will actually go further into the corner, but it won't matter, because if you're only doing one at a time, it's not creating any problems for you, because they don't get in the way of anything. So then you stick that in there like that, if you can see that. What I've done there. Pretty straightforward. I'll just do that last one for you, seeing as I'm here. Now this last one, just check it to make sure it's not going to interfere with anything. Sometimes see this one's probably needs to be cut down a bit. So I'm just going to trim a little bit off these. Alright. It's only the last one really, just depending on where you fit the other ones and how they sit in there. So I'll just glue this guy in, just to show you the last one. So I prefer to do it as it goes like this, just saves me double handling. Tuck him in there like that, spread him open, and that's it. Now at this point you can run a little bit of extra glue. It certainly wouldn't hurt, because a bit of extra glue in these aluminium elements probably doesn't hurt, so you would, you know, run a little bit of extra glue along there. Probably just in between the holes for the pixels, just a little bit of glue in between. Up the top doesn't matter, you can run as much as you want along there. So in between the holes, I don't know if you can see that, probably not, but I'm just doing just in between the holes. And you can also run a little bit into the corners there if you like, where they join. That one there is probably trimmed a bit too much off that one, but that's alright. So in the corners here, if you want, you can run a little bit of extra glue in there. Okay, so that's your F-ribs fitted. So you can see there, they're all fitted in there, and you can start feeling it's becoming a little bit stronger now. So with every part that we add, it becomes a little stronger. So I'll stop the video and we'll come back and fit the anchors in as the next step. Okay, so we've done all that now. We've fitted all the F-ribs in there, put a bit of extra glue in there, made a hell of a mess on their insert, but let's peel that off. So that's starting to get quite firm now, so we're getting a bit of strength in that. Now the next thing we need to do is fit our anchors. Now the anchors are the part that the back gets fixed to, so when we go to fix our back on, we can actually screw into the back of the things to hold the back on. If you've seen any of our other videos, you'll know how we make these anchors. They're a strip, there's some red marks on one side, some green marks on the other side. What happens is, you'll run some glue along the inside in between the red marks. You'll fold the tabs over and stick them together. That'll form a V. You will then run some glue in between the green lines, and they will go and they will be placed in there like that. And what that does, well, I'll just do one for you and I'll show you. Rather than explain it, I'll actually do it. So we're going to run some glue in between the red lines, just like that. We're then going to fold this part over, so it'll only take a few seconds for it to dry. So what you've got there is you've got a V. Now what that V does is, it does two things. So we're going to get the glue and we're going to run in between the glue. So you can only glue it one way because it can't fold back the other way, obviously. So we're going to run the glue in between the green lines. And then we're going to get this guy and we're going to put him into one of the V's. Doesn't matter which one. You can start wherever you like. Okay. Now, what that's doing, if you haven't worked it out already, is that it's going to hold these sides together so they don't come apart, which is good because you can feel straight away once you've stuck it on that it's 10 times the strength that it had normally. You've got the loose bits there, so you've glued these two together to hold together. So the bottom's being held by the F-rib, the top's being held by the anchor, and that's the point where when you put your back on, that's where you're going to screw into with the screw. Like I said, if you've seen our other videos, you know straight away what we're doing. So I'll just put another one on just to show you, just to give you another. Now, one point you might want to check. So fold the red lines over. You might want to pre-fit these first and see if there's any issue. If you feel you might want to trim a little bit off, you might have to trim a little bit off, but do that after you've glued it. So what you would do is, again, we run glue between the red line, sit them down, fold them over. Now, once you've glued these together, if you trim it off before, obviously the thing will come apart. So what you need to do is you need to make the glue them up to form a V. Probably do them all at once, might be easier. Then you take your element, you go there, you have a look and you say, okay, well that's a touch long there, so I might just give him a bit of a trim. So you just take a little bit off. You don't need to take much off. Just a little bit off, and you see it's sticking together because it's glue. Get in there and say, yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to run. Now you've cut the green line off, obviously, but it won't matter because you can only glue it on one side. You can't glue on the other side, obviously. It only forms a V one way. So then you go along here and you say, all right, that's where he's going to go, and I'm going to stick him in there like that. Perfect. You're going to get a nice strong, making sure always that this is flush. Always try and keep that flush, because if you don't, it's going to sit up a bit high when you sit the back on it. Okay, so automatically now you can see that's quite strong. That's pretty good. That's giving you the strength that you need. So what you're going to do is you're going to go along and glue up the rest of these guys. So glue them all up first, and then come along, pre-fit, see if you've got to trim anything off, trim it off, stick them on, and then that'll give you the strength, and that'll pretty much make it as strong as it needs to be once all that's completed. So I'll just stop that, finish these off, and we'll come back with the next step. Okay, so we've done all that. We've fitted all our anchors on, which will give us the spots to fix our back on when the back is finished. So that can go to one side for now. We're finished with that. Now the next part of this that we're going to do is we're going to make the rose back. Now the rose back is the part that will fit in here, that will light up this section, the star section. So it will light up that section independently from the pixels. So what you're going to have, or what you're going to get, is you're going to get a rose back, and we're going to build this up almost the same shape as, well, exactly the same shape I should say, but smaller as the actual element. And what we're going to do, just I've built one here on the other side, we're going to build something that's virtually a small version of this. And what's going to happen is that this is going to go onto the back like that. So you'll get the back, and it'll have the star shape on it, and this will be glued onto that. And when you put this over like that, that'll fit into there. And what that will do is it will create a section that will have pixels in there that you'll be able to light up the star separately if you want. So we'll just proceed and do that. So we don't need that, we just need this. Now that'll be your rose back. You'll get that with the blue dot and 5 little green squares on it. And the green squares are where we put the we use square pixels for this one here, so that's where they go. So there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you'll fit those on there. Now you can use the longer ones if you like. It's up to you. I mean, I don't like those. I think we get a better effect with these. I prefer these guys here. So what we're going to do is you're going to get the rose back, and you're going to get the sides. Now there'll be 5 of these. We'll have 5 of these here supplied, maybe 6 if there's a spare in there. So you can see what we're going to do. We're going to actually glue this onto the edges there. Now, because this part isn't seen, this is just slit there. That's not relevant. That doesn't really matter. So let's just go ahead and glue these on. So let's just get that on there like that. Show you what I'm doing. Now, it's not. This isn't perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect, because all it's doing is just creating a shape for these pixels to be fitted into, so that the light doesn't spill out to the rest of the edges or whatever. So we're only just building it roughly. So don't worry if you don't get it perfect. So it can be the sort of thing that just roughly will be good enough. As long as it doesn't go too far out of the shape of the actual star itself, that'll be fine. So we'll just quickly glue these on. Now, so there probably won't be much trimming involved in these. I mean, you can if you like. It depends how rough you want to be with it, sort of thing. So, again, there will be some stiffening involved in these in this part of it. And by that I mean you will have to put on some ribs to hold the thing together. Even though it's not seen, it still needs to hold itself together. So it will need some strengthening. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm not too concerned about the fact that there's some gaps there. I'm not really worried about that. I'm just basically getting these guys on now. Because this part is inside the main part, you can see there what I've done. I've actually should have trimmed that off, because I was a bit naughty. I didn't just trim that up right up there. That's alright. And stick him on. So that one was just cut a little bit longer than what it needed to be. So I should have checked that. So I suppose with all these things you should always check them. Make sure you're happy with them. So I'll do this 5th one on here and show you what I'm up to. Here. Okay, so that's the 5 done. Alright, so there's your basic shape, your basic rose shape. Now, again, as with all these things, they're a bit wobbly. You can see there that's not very strong. So it's glued down, but it's not strong. So what we need to do is we will need to strengthen them up. And we do that by putting some ribs in there. The same principle as the bigger one, as the main element, except that this just a smaller version, obviously. So with this one, I don't put as much glue on there. I basically just run one line of glue in the V, put him in like that. So there's your rib there. So that's holding the back onto the sides. Now, again, with these, you'll probably just need to make sure that they fit. So if they don't, if there's some that are a bit too long, just trim them off. So I'll just do these 5 in here first, like that. These in there like that, and like that. So you can see what I'm doing. I'll just do one more. We'll just test that first, make sure we're happy with it. With that one, yeah, probably needs a little bit of a trim, so I can trim that off a bit. Alright, so I'll trim that a little bit more off there. Alright. So you can see what I'm doing here. Oh, that's hot. Plonk him in there like that. Now, once you've done all 5, what you're going to do, there's 10 of these guys. So the reason there's 10 is that once you've done all the bottom ones, you do the same thing with the top. So you see what that does? So that, now, all this is doing is just holding the sides in together. We're not fixing anything into this, because this is going to be fixed to that. So that's when this goes onto the actual star itself, the back is the part that gets fixed into the original anchors. All these are doing is just holding the thing together. So 5 down the bottom, 5 along the top, and then you'll have a nice solid unit. So I'll do that, finish it off, and then I'll come back and show you what I'm doing. Okay, now I've done all that. So you can see I've put the stiffeners or the ribs in at the bottom. No, I haven't done those two there, which is a bit of a nuisance. I'll do that now. Stick those last 2 in. Always check them, make sure that they fit, because you can find yourself getting caught short. Once this stuff's in, it's really hard to get out. So we'll just put those last 2 in there like that. Stick that in there, and my last one in there, just check it. So this one will need to trim down a bit. If you trim it a bit more than what you have to, it doesn't really matter, because it's not a huge piece of thing that you have to hold together, so the actual amount that you cut off isn't critical. Alright, so there's the 5 stuck in at the bottom there, holding the sides to the back, and the other ones that hold the edges together. So you can see that's quite solid now, that won't go anywhere. So that's become like a little case for your modules. So then you get your back. So you can see the back, that's the back of the back, if you know what I mean, and that's the inside of the back with the star on it. Blue dot, blue dot. So all you've got to do is, you can double tape this on, double-sided tape, but I tend to glue. I don't think it needs double-sided tape, or a bit of silicone or whatever you want to use it. This isn't seen, so it's not a critical thing. So just stick it roughly in position there, just so long as it's not too far out of the green lines. Glue him down. Alright, and again, with all these things you can run a little bit more extra glue around the edges if you want, just to hold it down in position, just that sort of thing, so that'll hold it back down a bit more. So there is your that's the back fitted with the rows, which will house 5 little square pixels. Now, like I said, you can put modules in there if you want. I prefer to use these. Now, with these, if you've seen other videos of ours, because we haven't got a solid back to fix to, we can't really use those little fixing, the little fixing bits on the end there. So you can't screw that down. And because you can't screw that down and the cables come out from the bottom, it's a real nuisance to try to get these to sit down in position. So what we supply you with is a little block. It's a little mounting block. So the block sits in there. So you glue him on. Just glue him on. A bit of glue in there. Fix him in. Now I think you can see what that's doing already. Glue that down in position. Once you've got the block, it sits down perfectly onto the area that you want it to, and those little fixing points become irrelevant. Make sure you remember which way the feed is going. So there's arrows on these things. So what I tend to do is when I put the blocks on, I actually mark when I find my marking instrument here. That's all right. What I tend to do is I mark the direction of the arrow, so that when I go to stick them down, I know which way, the feed is coming in and out, so all the information is coming in and out. So, obviously, then all you do is you get your modules and apply some glue to it, or some double-sided tape, stick it down in position, stick them down into the correct position where you want them to go, and so forth. So, now, so you can stick down your modules in there however you want to do it. And now obviously these, you'll either have these looped up to the pixels, or you'll have two feeds coming out. So you'll either have, once this goes in, so line up the blue dot with the blue dot. Once this goes in, you'll either have the cable coming in to the side and then coming out from the back, either two cables, one for the little center star and one for the pixels, or you'll join the pixels up with the modules and then you'll have the one cable coming out. It depends how you want to do it. So you'll get those supplied, those little blocks, fit your modules into position, wire it, pull whatever cable out you want, or punch it through here to come into the pixels. Now at this point, obviously, this is where you would want to start fitting your pixels into position. Now, these pixels, what I would strongly recommend is that once, start wherever you like, start with the blue dot, doesn't really matter. So, push the first one in. Now, they stay in pretty easily. They'll stay in, they'll stay in like that, so they're not falling out. But I strongly recommend that with each of these pixels, every time you put one in, you put a double glue either side. So put the next one in, see if you can hear this popping in. Didn't hear it. Hang on, I'll do the next one. Probably heard that click. Yep, so it's clicked in position. We'll try this one. No, some will click and some won't. So you heard that one click in, so that's clicked into position. It's clicked in position. Now, I would strongly recommend that you put some glue either side here. Now, even though they'll stay in, so they'll stay in pretty well. Some of these you'll have to straighten up. The hole has been drilled big enough for you to pop these in without forcing it, because there's no flex in the there's absolutely no flex in the ACM face. So the hole has to be drilled just slightly bigger for them to be able to be pushed through without you killing yourself trying to put them in. But because we do that, you'll find that you need to just add a little bit of glue. Well, in fact, I'd run glue all the way around to stiffen them up, because I think what you'll find is that if you don't, when you go to assemble this with the back in there, you might push. Now that's reasonably firm, but you can push it out. So if you push it out, then it's a hassle. You've got to undo the whole thing, take it all off, jig it back in, go back in. So it's a nuisance. If there's no reason why you don't need to glue these in. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and I'll just do a couple more, push a few more in there. So you can see what I'm doing there, just pushing them in. So you can hear them going clickety in. So they click in okay, but look, take my advice and definitely glue these in, and you'll see for yourself. Once you've done it and you've had to disassemble it all and push them back in again, you'll get really frustrated. So I strongly recommend that you go along and glue them all. Now, the next thing that you need to consider is, and this is very important, and I'll show you before I go to the next step, is these cables. I would glue all the things in first, and I would, if you can, leave it overnight, let it really set well. If you can't, then what you need to do with these cables is you just need to make sure that they're tucked. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll just try that they're tucked away. Now I'm just tucking them in underneath the. Anchors there. Now the reason you need to do that is, so you can see here what I'm doing. You can see they're moving slightly, so that's why if they're glued in, you're going to have a far less problem. So you can see what I'm doing now. I'm tucking them in underneath the anchor. And so you can see what I've done there. I've tucked them in behind the anchor just to get them out of the way, so that when you go to put this guy in, it doesn't, well, these are all going to be in the way now, but you know what I mean? Like when you go to tuck this in, it doesn't get in the way of the edge of the row's back. Because if you've got cables hanging out all over the place, you're going to really struggle to, you know, get this thing to sit back in. But if you've got them tucked away neatly there, and the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you glue these in, because if you don't, I'll show you what's happened. Now you can see they're staying in, but they're sort of like they've bent over and twisted because that hole was just slightly bigger. Now if you glue those in, that won't happen. I'll just show you what I've done here with the yellow one. Just grab this one here. Now I haven't. I've just done this as a. This is what the yellow one that I was doing. Once you've glued these in, they don't move at all. Like that, they won't move at all. They'll stay in position. So when you can see, I don't know if you can actually see there, but I've glued those as much as I could to get in there. So once you do that and you glue those in, glue them in first, and then tuck the cables underneath so that you don't move them when you. So don't do that first. Don't push the cables underneath, because then you'll get that. You'll get all this bending up. So what you want to do is you just have the cables sitting out. Push the guys into position. Get them nice and straight. Glue them into where you're happy with. So I'll just take those out there again so I can show you. So they do sit in quite well. So I'll pull all those cables out. So once you're happy with them, turn the thing over, make sure you're happy with it, straighten up anything that you're not happy with. It's only a minor thing, it's not critical. Considering where they're going to go, it's not going to be a huge problem. Glue them, give them a good beating of glue. Try and leave them sitting for, overnight if you can, otherwise, at least a couple of hours, and then you can come along and you can tuck all these cables underneath the anchors, so that when you go to fit this guy in, and you can see there what's happening, because I haven't tucked the cables in, they're already starting to get caught because they're getting bent over. So what I'll do is I will do all this. I'll glue them all in, tuck them all underneath to show you how it looks when it's finished, and just finish off the video and show you how we put the back onto the side. Okay, we're nearly done there. So I've fitted all the pixels into the unit. You can see they're all set coming through the front there. I've glued them all. You can see there that I've given them all some glue all the way around. Now I've only left that for about an hour, so it's probably not as firm as I would like. If you left it overnight, you would certainly get more strength in the actual unit itself. I just want to show you here how I tuck the so you get these cables, and if you can just tuck them out of, see, you don't want them sitting over there because they're going to get in the way when you put the back on. So you just want to tuck them up underneath. They tuck up quite neatly. The corners don't matter as much, but you can see there I've tucked them neatly all the way around underneath. They sit nicely under the anchors there. Keeps them out of the way, so that when you go to fit the back on, it doesn't create any problems of getting caught. So I've fitted my square modules into the rose section. I've got the cable coming out, so you've got to get the cable from here to there if you're going to join these up together, or you're going to run through there. You'll work it out how to run the cables, I guess. If you're doing that, you know what you're doing. We don't punch any of those holes in there. We just leave this blank, and you can just do it however you want. So you can see once I get the blue dot and the blue dot lined up, you'll see that this fits in quite neatly. So it actually sits in there. You don't get any cable getting caught. So it sits in quite neatly. So disregard those cables there, obviously, because you're going to do whatever you want to do with those. So the last step in this is just fitting the back onto the unit to secure it. So what you would do is that's where the anchors come into it. Now you probably want to mark where you want to I'll just do a couple just for the sake of it. You want to mark where you want to put these. You can put 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 if you like. It's just up to you as to how many you want. You can put more if you want, I suppose, but I'll just put a couple in just for the sake of showing you how I do it. Again, like I said, 3mm drill bit. If you check out our other videos online, you'll see that this principle is pretty much all the same with all our units. These screws are supplied, by the way. These pan head screws. Pan heads are a better option. So I'll just put another one in there. So because you've got the V in there in all of them, it doesn't really matter where you fit it. Just don't go too far to the corner, because obviously you run out of anchor. So another screw in there. Use a hand screwdriver. Don't use a drill. You can over tighten them and strip them. So over time, if you take these on and off too often, or not too often, quite often, and you find that the hole isn't holding up anymore, just move the hole to one side and just silicone up the hole. In regards to the fact that you've got a hole there, it won't matter, because you've got that's the back of the unit. Of course, if you mount this thing in the ground or somewhere where you can see the back, you'll probably have to make do with something there. But you can see what I'm doing there. I'm fitting the back on. So once the thing is done and all ready to go, you can fit it however you want it. You can put it in the garden if you want, sitting on a post if you want to sit on a pole or something. There's various options. Put a hook in the back if you want to hang it off a tree or something like that. It can be the centerpiece at the top of a tree. It's quite a nice little unit. So that's pretty much it. I hope that's clear, and I hope that's helped you. See you next time.